Okay. Where do I begin? Hi guys, Matt the Editor here, and welcome to another edition of Doctor Who Series 12 Who Edited Reviews. This week, it's the Series 12 finale Part 1, Ascension of the Cybermen by Chris Chibnall. I cannot really say I was entirely hyped for this series finale because I knew it was either going to be a long prologue or trailer to Part 2, or it would give us a pretty good Part 1 but a train wreck tangent of Part 2. Especially with Chris Chibnall's previous two-parter Spyfall, which I really enjoyed Part 1, but I thought Part 2 was clearly in the wrong direction. And since we already had questions like, who is the Timeless Child? Where does Captain Jack fit into this whole series? And how does the Roof Doctor fit into the entire series and the 56-year run of the show in general? In short, Chibnall has a lot of questions to answer, but at the same time, he has to make sure he gives us a good story to tell. But at the same time, it's like, who knows? I mean, the Cybermen are in this episode, and I love the Cybermen, and we are getting new designs of them, and it might be pretty cool. But by God, I was not expecting what we got today, because this episode was brilliant! There are some loose threads, we'll get to that later, but let me just start off by saying, unlike some parts of this series, I was never bored. Not even for one moment. I was legitimately glued to the screen from beginning to end. As much as I quite enjoyed some of the episodes we had so far, there was always a moment in which I thought I can just fast forward out and just skip to some bits I really liked. But this one, nothing. I was legitimately having a good time with this episode. Everything relating to the Cybermen was absolutely amazing. Yes, I know they're using the same damaged Cybermen from Closing Time. Yes, I know the Cyberdrone heads are a little ridiculous with the cheap animation. And yes, I know the Cyberman troop carrier does kind of look like Demon's Run from Series 6. But good God, the amount of production work with them is phenomenal. You can tell where the entire series budget went into this two-parter, and honestly, it was worth it. The entire drone sequence was pretty good. I mean, the drones flying across, destroying all the tech that could have damaged them or killed them. They fly into the houses where some of the survivors are hiding, and they shoot them from behind. God damn! This proves how much of an upgrade the Cybermen have had, especially with Chibnall in charge. I mean, he made the dogs good again in Resolution, he made the Master pretty cool in Spyfall, and now he's made the Cybermen actually be terrified. That not even the human race are safe. The entire story itself even looks like a war story mixed with some refugees and border escape mission elements, with stories about ordinary people being forced into this unexpected occurrence. And even the cheap production work of the cyber ships has a few neat elements, like the panels, which we usually see them as like a cyber converter, is actually a steering wheel for the shuttlecrafts. All that prologue sequence with the floating Cyberman head, which, yeah, it did lead to a cool transition to the titles, but I never thought this could fit into the story at all, except to give a visual image. But later on, we get the refugee ship crashing into an asteroid field full of dead Cybermen. That was so clever! And yes, the new Cybermen, they kind of called them the Cyber Warriors, which are a combination of the Invasion Cybermen with the Cyberian bodies. Yeah, it's definitely not a new design, but I did get nostalgic feels from it. One of the things I didn't notice was the spikes on the shoulders, which, I'm going to be honest, that's a little bit ridiculous. And I noticed that one of the Cybermen is a little shorter than the others. But it did kind of remind me of Earthshock Cybermen, where I'm pretty sure there were some multi-heightened Cybermen in those eras. But you can tell Chibnall and the costume designers are really having a ball with this episode, especially with the Cybermen. And the music. This is probably one of my favorite Cybermen music since Age of Steel. Very chilling, very army-like, and yet robotic at the same time. The actor who plays the lone Cyberman might be my favorite Cyberman villain yet. Christ, why wasn't he in Series 11? Continuing from his chilling performance in Haunting of Villa Diodati, he is relishing every moment he is on screen. Whether it is him leading the Cybermen soldiers, telling one of the Earth survivors to spread a message about his power across the world, or even awakening the Cyber Warriors. I love the way he is written. Lines like, "I know you are here. Surrender. You show courage, but you are a liar." And, "Should I let you live? You could tell the tale. Speak of their deaths, of my power to every species." Damn, those are such good lines spoken by an awesome actor. And yes, even Jodie Whittaker is having a blast. I liked how she doesn't just spend the entire time talking with the supporting cast or giving away exposition. She knows that they do not have enough time. Instead, she offers to help the remaining survivors, even by helping them with her own technology. And her little moment with Ethan's father, the teacher, saying how much she cares about helping these people. And even when her plan doesn't work, she is in shock. Almost like she has no idea what to do next. That she even lashes out at her own team and acknowledging how reckless she has been with them. Which did lead to this funny moment where the companions are spelling out the obvious, and then literally the doctor literally just said what I was thinking. I know. And even when she does have the childish talk, it works into the story because she uses that childish talk to act as bait to keep the others safe. Now that is how you use fun comedic elements in an otherwise dark story. But where she really shines are, of course, in the dramatic dark moments. It goes to show that this doctor needed to be challenged, and that is what I wanted to see with Series 12. There was one moment in the episode which she was a little chirpy, but in which I actually liked, because of nostalgic reasons. It's when Ryan was feeling sick after driving one of the cyber ships, and the doctor offers him some ginger. And the way that moment was filmed kind of reminded me of Tom Baker's popular catchphrase, "Would you like a jelly baby?" I'm not entirely sure if that was supposed to be a reference, but I thought it was a nice touch. Having the TARDIS team split up again is the best thing that they could do, and they have to, with the TARDIS team. So we have Ryan and the Doctor and Graham with Yasmin, and it does lead to possibly some developing moments, like Graham possibly becoming braver than he was in Series 11. He's finally moving on. Yasmin taking charge like a real police officer or leader, and Ryan I don't remember doing a lot. I don't think he's actually grown, but maybe he could grow to become much more stronger in part 2 after seeing what they've shown in the Next Time trailer. There's not really much to say about them overall. We'll see where they go in part 2. It does seem to show how far these characters have come from the woman who fell to Earth. So at the rate this review is going, you probably think that this is the best series finale so far, right? That there is nothing wrong with it at all, that it's a masterpiece. Not quite. As much as I really enjoyed this episode, there is still a few concerns I had while watching it. And honestly, the main problems rely on two things. One, the supporting cast. With some exceptions like Julie Grantham's character Frolio, who is the kind of rebellious leader who does seem to have an interest or faith in Graham, which did lead to a funny, which I'm guessing was actually a mistake made by Bradley Walsh, but then he had to ad-lib the line, saying, excuse me, I'm the most normal bloke here. And she replies back saying that calling him strange was a compliment. That got a chuckle out of me. And fun fact to all Who fans, you might remember her appearing as Ruby White in the Sarah Jane Adventures Series 4 finale, Goodbye Sarah Jane Smith. She was great in that episode, and she is great in this one. You also have the toy soldier, what was his name? Yodlami, I think it was, who wants to fight after seeing his brother Fusco get killed by the cyber drones. And because of that, he is the obvious non-believer, but we understand where he's coming from. Ethan, who was raised into the war by his father, the teacher, since he was the age of 5, and after seeing his father die, he does whatever it takes to help the Doctor and Ryan. But with an exception of some red shirts and some key characters related to those characters, the only character I do not remember doing a lot is this blonde girl in a beanie hat, which I don't even remember her name, and I didn't really understand what was her position in the story, apart from stating the obvious or to try and cheer the gang up, when honestly, you could have had Yasmin or Graham do all those things. But thankfully, the amount of supporting characters we've got is not Orphan 55 bad. I still wanted to see these characters get out of the situation alive, and maybe we might get some proper development with these characters, but who knows. There's also Ko Shamus, this character which the magazines and I think the website was building up to, which honestly I didn't really care much about. Don't know exactly what to make of him yet until we see part 2, but so far he seems like a human with some sort of wizard staff who has a portal to guess where. But I was intrigued by this character, and even though I have a hunch of where I think they're leading with this character, I would like to know more about him. And the actor who plays him, Ian McInerney, whom I had a feeling might be a famous actor, did do a good performance. The other major problem I have is the ending, which honestly I cannot really say it is a spoiler ending since we kind of knew going in what was going to happen, for 2 reasons. 1. Since the title is called Ascension of the Cyberman, you know a Cyberman army is going to be reborn and the gang are going to be in trouble. 2. I don't even consider this a spoiler because of all these speculations on social media where this entire Timeless Child series is going. There is also that fake out name on the BBC website, which, is it just me or were we taken for fools of that? And since the next episode is called The Timeless Children, we kind of know going in who is going to come back. We know this character is coming back at the end of this episode. I'm pretty sure the Roof Doctor might make a return. Maybe Captain Jack might squeeze himself in at some point. It's a good ending, but it didn't really surprise me. I don't even think it was really that shocking. There's also this side story with this character Brandon. Honestly, all throughout, I was really invested in this story. I had a feeling this was going to be the backstory of the lone Cyberman, since in the last episode he said he was a father once who killed his children. And I thought this story was going to show it. Maybe not show the slitting of children's throats as he mentioned in the previous episode, but perhaps the build-up to his actual conversion. And it was going so great. We see fragments of his life as a baby, a child, becoming a god, being shot by a thief. All of it was good. But then it turns out he survives his death from being shot and falling off a cliff. How? But then we got the ending, and honestly, it ruined my expectations. Yes, as much as I really enjoyed the story of Brandon, I was actually kind of hoping it would lead to him becoming the lone Cyberman, and for the most part, I thought that's what this story was building up to. But when we see the scene of him retired as an officer, and he sees his former sergeant and his dad at the exact same age, and then they tie him to a device next to a clock, which I'm guessing is a time-traveling device, and they mention you won't remember a thing. I was confused at that point. The device itself kind of looked like a sort of chameleon arc of sorts, but the way it was designed kind of reminded me of a sort of old-fashioned cyber converter. So unless this relates to what happens in part 2 with the Timeless Children, why did it have to be included in a Cyberman story? Then again, this could lead to some Time Lords or Timeless Children becoming the Cybermen, which would be pretty interesting, and it would make sense to have this story fit into a Cyberman story if that's the case. Basically, whatever this two-parter is doing, Chibnall better make sure he has all questions answered, because this would have been a complete waste of certain elements I mentioned earlier. Now, I really hope that whatever Chibnall has up his sleeve works to his advantage. I don't care who makes an appearance in the finale, I don't care who lives, I don't care who dies. As long as this episode makes the entire series run worth sitting through, I will be okay. What I hope it doesn't do is give us a cop-out ending, an underwhelming resolution, or even an unfinished ending, because if it does, it would still leave questions unanswered, and if this series does not do as well that the show could get cancelled or put in a hiatus, this whole run would have been an absolute waste of my time. So, after all that, here's my conclusion. Ascension of the Cybermen has a lot going for it, and for the most part, it kind of works. It gave us a good reintroduction to the Cybermen, some interesting characters, and it does lead us to asking questions which may or may not get answered in the next episode. However, I do see this episode having some viewers feel a little bit underwhelming, leading towards some elements which might not fit into this story, and seeing a track record of two-parters we've seen in the New Who, I wouldn't be surprised if stuff like Brandon's story, or even the Cybermen story, or even the entire series arc does not get resolved in part 2. But that is not to say I am excited. The performances are still brilliant. Standouts include Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, the lone Cyberman, and even half of the supporting cast. But the production work is worth the price of admission. I would be lying if I said this episode did not look epic, or breathtaking, or thrilling to sit through. This is a great looking episode, and I do hope that whatever the next episode gives us makes the entire series run and adventure worthwhile. Once again, I won't be giving this a proper score until part 2 comes out, but for now, I'm giving this episode 8.5 out of 10. Be sure to leave a comment, like and share this video, and if you have seen the episode, what did you think about it? And if you'd like to see more of my videos, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to click on the bell to be notified for future videos. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.